Today, I'm going to tell you about one of the greatest hoaxes that has ever been performed by a gentleman named Theodore Edward Hook, and over the years it has become known as the Berners Street Hoax. Hook was born on the 22nd of September 1788 in Bedford Square, London. His father, James Hook, was a very successful composer and wished for his son to follow in his footsteps. And when Theodore Hook grew up into a young man, he did just that, and his father took delight in showing off his son's talent to compose beautiful music. And his talent was evident for all to see. And he quickly made a name for himself after partnering with his father, and he created a popular comic opera named The Soldier's Return, and many more followed. But this is not what history mainly remembers Theodore Hook for. With the success also came a playboy lifestyle, and Theodore also had a mischievous side, and absolutely loved practical jokes and pranks, such as knocking at a total stranger's door just to see if he could succeed at being invited in for dinner. And in the year of 1809 he would pull a prank that would outshine all previous pranks, and even eclipse his very successful career for years to come. One day, as Theodore was speaking with his friend Samuel Beazley, who was an architect, novelist and playwright, Theodore made a bet that he could take any house in London and within a week make it the talk of the city. Samuel probably believed that this bet was easy money for him, 1 guinea to be exact, which in today's money is 87 British pounds or $104. And Samuel felt that he had already won, as there was no way his friend could make a single house the talk of London, especially in a week. Undeterred, Theodore selected a house on Berners Street, which belonged to a Mrs. Tottenham, and the bet was on. On the 27th of November at 5 o'clock in the morning, a chimney sweep arrived at the front door of 54 Berners Street and proceeded to knock. Mrs. Tottenham was a woman of wealth, and a large house sat in a wealthy part of London, and because of her status, Mrs. Tottenham could afford a housemaid, who answered the door to the chimney sweep. The chimney sweep informed her that his services had been booked and he was ready to go about his business cleaning the chimneys. But the maid was adamant that there must be some kind of mistake. They didn't require a sweep, and the man was sent away. Moments later there was another knock at the door, and when the maid answered, she was shocked to see another chimney sweep, stating that his services had been booked and he was ready to clean the chimneys. And once again the maid sent the chimney sweep away. The maid closed the door behind her and went on with her morning duties. Moments later, there was another knock at the door. The maid, probably now getting a little bit irritated, answered the door, and to her shock, there stood another chimney sweep with the same story, and once again she sent the chimney sweep away. And moments later, there was another knock, and she answered the door to find yet another chimney sweep standing in the doorway. All in all, she answered the door to 12 chimney sweeps that morning, and it didn't end there. After the last chimney sweep had been sent away, not one, but many carts arrived in front of the house with a very large delivery of coal for 54 Berners Street. As the maid was explaining that they had not ordered any coal, one of many cake makers arrived at the house delivering large wedding cakes. This was followed throughout the day by shoemakers and fishmongers who had deliveries of fish. They had a delivery of a dozen pianos and a grand organ that was delivered by 6 burly men. There was also lawyers turning up throughout the day, and doctors, and even a minister who had been instructed to turn up at the house because the occupant was dying. There was also furniture, enough to furnish the entire street, upholstery goods, jewellers, opticians, hairdressers, even a made-to-measure coffin arrived along with undertakers and mourning coaches, miniature painters and artists of all type, and even removal firms. And so much more followed throughout the day. And then, many more important people started to show up at the house after being instructed to do so for whatever reason. This included the Governor of the Bank of England, the Duke of York, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the Lord Mayor of London. And this carried on well into the evening, filling the street with multiple deliveries and people of many trades arriving to offer their services, as well as a mob of people who found the scene very entertaining to watch and filled every corner of the street. And as I'm sure you understand, it became totally overwhelming for the maid, who had now totally lost control of the situation, as anyone would, and Berners Street was totally congested. It was utter madness and mayhem, and a large part of the city of London had come to a standstill. And after a while the police were dispatched to try and drive away the crowds and anyone coming towards the house with hopes of offering their services or their goods. But this proved a hard thing to accomplish, as the police tried their best to control the entire bedlam that was going on in the street. Meanwhile, whilst all this was going on, Theodore Hook sat across the street in a house that he had rented with his friends directly opposite 54 Berners Street and watched the absolute chaos unfold and the street fill until it was hard to move. It is said that Hook employed some of his friends to write between 1,000 and 4,000 letters to different tradespeople throughout the city, signed Mrs. Tottenham. Letters asking for deliveries of coal, pianos, coffins, cakes, furniture, and so on. The Mayor of London received such a letter stating that Mrs. Tottenham couldn't attend a meeting with the Mayor due to her being ill and unable to leave her house, and requested him to attend Berners Street. Afterwards, it is said that Theodore Hook lay low and didn't go out for quite some time after becoming a suspect, and within a week or two, he fled the country. Years later, Hook would admit to pulling off the Berners Street prank. Well, kind of, in a semi-autobiographical book named Gilbert Gurney, where he created a character named Dre, who declared he was a prankster of Berners Street. It's not entirely clear if Mrs. Tottenham Hook's victim was chosen at random or if he had a score to settle, but one thing is for sure, Theodore Hook certainly did win the bet, and he claimed himself a nice, shiny guinea.